Welcome back to the Ripewave audio community, where we explore together all types of home audio systems from hi-fi to home theater. My name is John, and for this video, we will continue our top AV processor separates between $5,000 and $10,000 series, which support immersive audio formats for at least 12 channels. For part 3, we are focusing on the connectivity which these processors support. If you missed part 1, where we outlined the main criteria for channels, format support, and room calibration, or part 2, where we examined the DACs these processors utilize, I have provided the links for your convenience in the description. We selected the list of processors we are examining from a filtered down set of 160 models, 27 brands from the Ripewave audio database. By selecting the criteria for models which are still actively promoted on the brand websites between $5,000 and $10,000, processor separate, non-receivers, and immersive, the pool of candidates dropped to 8 models from 7 brands: Acurus, Anthem, AudioControl, JBL Synthesis, Lygndorf, McIntosh, and NAD. With the focus of part 1 on the number of channels, formats, and supported room calibration software, the Anthem AVM90 came out as the first round pick. In part 2, the DACs, we selected the Acurus Muse for that processor's overall 110 dB signal-to-noise rating and use of the differential circuitry for 4 of the channels. Moving from sub $5,000 AV processors to AV processors between $5,000 and $10,000, we had some preconceived notions on connectivity before researching. When you move up in price point, the general belief is that the AV processors will become more focused on what is essential, delivering those features at a higher level of performance and dropping what is not required to be managed in a single device. In particular, we suspect that support for streaming ecosystems and internet streaming will further diminish. However, support for integrated solutions will be more important, as these products are often within the portfolio of custom integrators. With part 3, we hope to determine if those preliminary thoughts are accurate and which models deliver on core elements such as HDMI compliance. As we inspect the Ethernet and wireless communication supported, we are still seeing a high level of support. All models support Ethernet, and for the wireless support, we are even seeing a slightly higher percentage of models delivering. While 67% provided support under $5,000, over 87% include support for Wi-Fi, and 75% have a Bluetooth option. While we maintain that Wi-Fi may be better served using an external switch, it appears that this is a feature that the market likes to have on board, and I suppose the cost to implement is so low today that inclusion does not distract from the core. Bluetooth remains an inbound affair, whereby it is intended to be used as a source from mobile devices to stream content to the processor, and not as an outbound connection path for headphones or speakers. In the prior series, only the Marantz AV7706 had that capability. Despite this higher price point, brands are still not publishing specifics on these communication interfaces. In fact, there is no data for these models at all versus the sub $5,000 counterparts, which at least had some models with a few details. The speed of the Ethernet, the Wi-Fi frequency bands, and standard A, B, G, N, which Wi-Fi 4, AC for Wi-Fi 5, AX for Wi-Fi 6 and 6E are not published. The same story with the Bluetooth versions. Codecs are not being published as well. Support for newer Bluetooth standards results in increased data throughput, range for connection, and has power-conserving features, but is less critical for sound reproduction quality than the codecs used. While use of better codecs result in sonic improvements, these are still all compression-based and not ideal for critical listening. As such, we continue to categorize Bluetooth as a convenience feature. Apparently, brands find it sufficient to list support only as yes, it has it, or no, it doesn't, without going into detail, which is unfortunate. NAD provides wireless capability as an optional USB adapter, which we show later on when we go over the streaming ecosystems. While we indicate that the adapter approach is less desirable on the slide, with the blue color coding, we don't see that approach as something that will impact our decision on the performance level of the wireless. As a review, here is the HDMI version table we provided in the last series. We would like to see the latest HDMI 2.1 standard, which was introduced in 2017, to be introduced into all these processors, but the adoption rates have been slow, and its value back to the enthusiast requires an HDMI capable 2.1 television, generally one with 8K support, and sources that leverage the new enhancements, which is largely limited to specific video games. It is possible to adopt some, but not all the features in HDMI 2.1, so you'll see examples of products that are labeled as HDMI 2.0 with eARC support, and we'll see that in some models. We do expect a minimum of audio return channel, ARC, to be supported as it was introduced with the HDMI 1.4 standard. It should also be reasonable to see HDMI 2.0, which introduced HDR, and the HDMI 2.0b standard, which added hybrid log gamma HGL features at this time, as the market has had over 5 years to adopt. Looking at the video support table, we see more consistency with HDMI support, with all complying with version 2.0b at this time. Now, only the Marantz AV7706 had support for 2.1 in the lower tier. We know that Acurus plans support for HDMI 2.1 with a software upgrade, and Anthem advertised that HDMI 2.1 will be delivered via a hardware update option in the future. The software upgrade path is certainly easier. Most models support 7 HDMI inputs and 2 to 3 HDMI outputs. The Lygndorf MP40 has the lightest number of HDMI ports at 3 in and 1 out. We will cover the ports in a later part when the I/O is discussed. The NAD M17 V2i is in between with its included VM300 module that provides 5 in and 2 out. It is interesting that McIntosh is the only brand to list support for HDCP 2.3 copy protection standard in the MX123 literature. The NAD, Lygndorf, and McIntosh models in this group only support ARC. The Harman and Anthem models are all reporting support for eARC. While Acurus does not claim support for ARC or eARC today, we understand that eARC support is coming once the HDMI 2.1 firmware is released as part of that software-only upgrade. We hope that all models adopt eARC in the near future so processors can receive an uncompressed audio signal from the TV versus the compressed signal delivered through ARC. All models support 4K and none support 8K. We assume that all support 4K up to the 60 Hz refresh rates, if not published. Similarly, we are assuming the default color range of 10 bits. The exception is the Acurus Muse, which advertises a 12-bit color grading. HDR10 is supported across the board, but HDR10 Plus is limited to the JBL Synthesis, one of the areas whereby the SDP55 differs from the other Harman models, which otherwise share a common platform. At this level, support for Dolby Vision and IMAX Enhance is stronger than the lower tier products. Aside from the NAD M17, all models claim Dolby Vision support. IMAX Enhance is also announced for all but the NAD, Lygndorf, and Acurus, but support is planned for the Acurus. Hybrid log gamma is limited to a few models, but use of that standard is limited to its initial broadcast television application, and adoption has been slow. Once the market is able to catch up with HDMI 2.1 support, we believe the need to keep updating the video section of AV processors will slow, but time will tell. Voice control is only supported by the M17 V2i via its Blue OS upgrade kit, and we understand is limited to just Amazon Alexa. All models support protocol-based control via Ethernet and infrared, as well as through an RS-232 port for integrations. These units all have some quantity of triggers, which is the simplest way to coordinate functions like commanding all your components to turn on and turn off together. While the raw protocols and ports are available for remote control, most brands don't make specific claims as which control solutions are compatible with their processors. As with Anthem's AVM70, the AVM90 in this class lists compatibility with a large number of integration platforms. Control4, Savant, RTI, Creston, Elan, and URC are all supported. NAD matches that list, less Savant, and adds MAX, Push, Lutron, iPort, and others via its Bluetooth ecosystem. Crestron and AMX compatibility is listed in the JBL Synthesis SDP55 manual, but it is interesting that the AudioControl models don't have a similar note in their literature, as the lower price Arcam AV40 and Lexicon MC10, also from Harman, have that note. Perhaps that omission was not conscious, and those integrations are still possible. Again, what is in this table is only the integrations each brand specifically lists compatibility for, and does not fully represent what is really possible. We divide streaming into two basic categories. One, how content is streamed to our homes, which we label as internet streaming, and two, how we are streaming content within our homes, we label as a streaming ecosystem. First, we will look at streaming ecosystems, as they perhaps are more important in a processor than the ability to directly support internet streaming. AirPlay 2, followed by Chromecast, remain the most popular streaming ecosystems, largely because those are the ecosystems which are supported by the majority of mobile devices. Roon is gaining in popularity within the audio world, and with AudioControl and Anthem, there is planned support. They will join NAD and Lygndorf when they do. Spotify Connect is supported by 4 brands today: NAD, Lygndorf, McIntosh, and Anthem. NAD, with its BlueOS ecosystem, is able to integrate with the most streaming ecosystems at this price point. This is similar to the approach taken by Denon Marantz with HEOS and Yamaha with MusicCast. To leverage the BlueOS ecosystem, NAD has the BlueOS Upgrade Kit, which connects to the USB port on the VM300 module included with the M17 V2i. The kit sells for around $149 and provides up to 24-bit 192 kHz streams from connected mobile devices with the BlueOS controller app installed. The kit also supports the integration solutions. In the sub-$5,000 series, we saw direct support for internet streaming services in the Marantz AV8805 and Yamaha CX-A5200. We also pointed out that the Marantz did not include support for these in their latest AV7706 processor, which may allude to dropping support altogether moving forward. In the $5,000 to $10,000 range, the NAD M17 V2i stands out with its BlueOS pulling these all together. Lygndorf only comes in with Spotify, and the Harman brands provide internet radio support. The support delivered by BlueOS outnumbers that included with the AV8805 and CX-A5200. In fact, there are more services supported by BlueOS not shown on this table. If the capabilities of the BlueOS solution appeals to you, you fortunately have choices beyond the M17 V2i, as NAD and sister company Bluesound make BlueOS available as standalone source products. There is the NAD M50.2 transport digital music player for $4,399, or the more affordable and dedicated Bluesound Node 2 at $549. That concludes Part 3. What we found is that our initial assumptions were only correct to a small degree. We were wrong about the items that we believe would drop off. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support remained as widely supported features. Streaming ecosystems and internet streaming support appeared to at a similar level of adoption as with the sub-$5,000 series. The Bluesound Node 2 is a good external option for those who want to integrate streaming into their home theater when not natively supported by their AV processor. Claimed support for integration solutions remained at a similar level, so we did not observe a dramatic increase at this higher tier. We had hoped to see a greater level of support for 8K and 2.1 in general, but perhaps the lower sales volume for more expensive products makes it harder to be market leading with that standard. Furthermore, the issues around unclear specifications and implementation within the HDMI 2.1 chips delivering this capability continue to be an issue regardless of the price point. The increased support for Dolby Vision and IMAX Enhanced are nice to see. Hybrid log gamma and HDR10 Plus remain niche formats. As with our prior series, this round did not consider the models without eARC support at this time. That excluded NAD, Lygndorf, McIntosh, and Acurus models. If you have a TV with HDR10 Plus support, you may be compelled to look at the JBL Synthesis SDP55. The NAD M17 V2i has the most integration and streaming support, but its lack of eARC has already excluded the M17 V2i. With the announced path to HDMI 2.1, eARC, Dolby Vision, IMAX Enhanced, Hybrid Log Gamma, Rec 2020, lots of claimed integration support, and support for ecosystems, the Anthem AVM90 wins round 3, and you can complement it with the Blue Sound Node 2i if something is missing. If you are in the market for an AV processor, what connectivity options are important to you? Please include in the comments section. Will you hold off until HDMI 2.1 can be delivered by more models? Do you aim to leverage direct internet streaming and ecosystems from the processor directly, or do you offload those functions to an external device? That feedback would be useful to the Ripewave audio community. Furthermore, if you enjoyed this video and are interested in enhancing your audio experience, please like and subscribe to this Ripewave audio community, and be sure to select the bell icon so you'll be notified as soon as the next video is posted. Until then, keep evolving your audio experience.